Greetings all! This is Justin.
This is Nick. How you going, dude?
Doing well. And we're back again for another weekly Hangar Bay episode.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the Hangar Bay, where we talk about your submitted X-Wing lists. So we're back to the Rebellion, back to the end of the rotation of all the factions once more.
Yep.
This week, talking about the U-Wing. So, the U-Wing is an interesting little thingamajig. It was added in Rogue One into the canon of Star Wars. So they sort of made it aesthetically similar enough to the X-Wing and Y-Wing. And I think they did a pretty good job of that, having said all that.
They saved the dream.
They did save the dream. They didn't save the U-Wings, though, because there were none left in the Battle of the Death Star.
Yeah.
Or was there? I never really understood what happened there.
No, technically they'd have to all go because you don't see them again ever again.
No, I suppose they could have died in that fleet above Scarif, or we know the one that flew into the thing got destroyed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Star Wars.
Let us know,
guys. Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
But anyway, it represents something very interesting in terms of a ship on the Rebellion. It was like a reconnaissance slash spy craft in a way as well.
Yeah, I always thought that you should be able to shoot out the sides as well because they drop them and the stand shoots out.
In X-Wing. That's a very common complaint. The U-Wing only has a forward-facing arc. And look, honestly, I think the main reason for that is representative of in-atmosphere fighting, where X-Wing, it could be in atmosphere, but not specifically. Not shooting sideways is the thing. Can't do it. Doesn't happen.
No.
It only shoots forward, but with the pivot wing flip card, after you do a full-stop maneuver, you can point it in any direction perpendicular to where you are, which is really powerful for zoning. What's made this more powerful is the prevalence of Leia Organa as well on the Rebellion. Being able to supercharge your red maneuvers. Well, guess what? Here's a ship that loves to do red maneuvers. It has a full stop, which is already powerful as is, but it gets to do a little bit of extra spice when it does it.
Yeah, the ability to full stop and then either do a focus or a target lock, that's
absolutely
something else.
Or with other combos, you can get evade tokens or all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of different options to do with this. In terms of meta play, we've actually seen a few different lists with like Paz and Renegade and Leia Organa. Paz and Renegade being the Initiative 1 pilot with the illicit, so you can do some shenanigans with that. We're not going to cover a lot of that in this video. Remember, the Hangar Bay is all about different fun, flavorful, casual and competitive things we can do with the ship. So we're not going to make this as a thesis on one particular loadout, which is dominating the meta. I will focus on that in a separate video. But for this video, we're going to have a look at a few different fun combos you can do with it. Just before we do that, the general stats of the ship: 3 red dice, 2 agility, 5 hull, and 3 shield. And just remember that 2 agility is basically 1 agility when the wings are closed. Focus, target lock, and red coordinate. Also a sensor, 2 crew, modification, and illicit if you happen to be using the partisan U-Wings. And in terms of hyperspace legality, we're only looking at Saw's Renegades because it hasn't been released as a separate ship in 2nd edition yet. It's kind of weird to think about that.
Yeah, so you don't get Cassian Andor,
Heftober, the Blue Squadron, generic, whatever. So, first of all, we'll talk about a couple of patron submitted lists. This one by Cynic Oil. Thank you for supporting the Patreon. It's been a while. You've submitted a few lists over your time, so thank you very much for your patience. A couple of U-Wings and Wedge Antilles.
Here we have Benthic 2 tubes with rigged cargo chute, Leia Organa, perceptive co-pilot, hull upgrade, and pivot wing.
Magva Yarrow with swarm tactics, fire control systems, TAC officer, seasoned navigator, pivot wing, and rigged cargo chute.
And Wedge Antilles with swarm tactics, R2D2, afterburners, and the servo motors.
And this leans heavily into the swarm tactic, if you will, of being able to pass initiative 6 to 1 and then another ship. So you can activate all of these guys during the combat phase at initiative 6. Now that's kind of fun.
Not bad.
I like that idea. I am very much aware of the fact that there's a bit of an opportunity cost at doing that.
Yeah.
There are other talents we could be taking on these guys. I'm particularly looking at trick shot.
We talk about it all the time.
We're
going to keep talking about it.
We always do. I mean, Swarm Tactics is 3 points, Trick Shot's 2 points, and there's 2 rigged cargo chutes on this list. Guys, I really like it. I know I go on about it, and I every time I bring it up, I'm like, but I want to bring it up because I think it's relevant. I like that on Wedge a lot, actually, because you can increase your dice and decrease your opponent's dice.
Yeah.
On
Wedge with
twofold.
trick shot. Just,
Outmaneuver is a fun thing on Wedge because it deletes 2 dice. However, that sucks when your opponent only has 1 dice, or even worse, 0 dice, and you're just doing nothing. Trick shot always has that extra value, assuming you're shooting through a rock, obviously, and you've got lots of agency to do so. But another thing this list is taking massive advantage of is Leia Organa. We can't ignore her here.
No.
We have the option to do it on both U-Wings. Wedge with his Talon rolls can do all kinds of crazy shenanigans. I do like it. And yeah, that's a lot of firepower if you use it
looks
correctly.
good, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Also, R2D2, it's a lot of points. Getting that disarm token.
Yeah, that feels...
I'm not convinced by R2 just yet. I think FFG are still hunting for the sweet spot with those droids. I think it is absolutely correct to give them the disarm token. I think from 1st to 2nd edition, that was a good move.
Yeah.
6 points. I mean, look, there's going to be the odd game during a tournament where you have the opportunity to use it. Is that good?
Yeah.
Do you really want to not be shooting with Wedge?
Yeah, if you take R4 instead and then you've just got more blue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't care about blue because you've got Leia.
Yes. No, actually, I would take R4 in all seriousness. Yes, there is the fact that Leia is preventing you from taking stress tokens a lot of the time, but you've still got red actions. When the S4s are closed, you have a red boost if you want to take that. Also, Leia is not up every single turn. Sometimes you will need to Talon roll without having the opportunity to take Leia.
Okay.
So that is absolutely a consideration. Yes, I know, Magical Christmas Land, every time you want a Talon roll, it perfectly lines up with Leia having all her charges ready. It's not always going to happen, though.
No.
And plus, Wedge is an ace, is initiative 6. Give yourself as much opportunity as possible. R2D2 is cool. I don't think he's overcosted at 6. Maybe not. Maybe a fraction. Maybe a tiny fraction.
You reckon?
I just don't know if you want to be losing that opportunity with Wedge. I think if there was a pilot that really, really cared about keeping all his shields and was a brawler, not an ace, specifically fell into that role, because aces want to be really versatile all the time. Brawlers can take a hit.
What you want is bigs.
That's actually a pretty good idea. Yeah, exactly right. So you can see how you change the perspective of the pilot, and all of a sudden, that actually makes a lot of sense. I even like R2 on Luke, to be honest. The fact that he's so defensive and he can peel off and recharge force and recharge shield. I feel like he's the one example of a sort of an ace that can work with R2. Wedge is a little bit awkward. But I like the double rigged cargo chute, Leia. Perceptive co-pilot to pass extra focus tokens off. These are pretty stacked builds, but
also
okay.
Season Navigator is spicy.
Season Navigator is very spicy.
I like that.
Magvayara is initiative 3, so wanting to change your dial isn't going to come up all that often.
Much. Yeah.
If your opponent moves into block with a lower initiative ship, you can move the other way and try and do that. Season Navigator, just in case you guys aren't aware, basically allows you to change your dial on the fly to something of the same speed. It's a basic, another non-red maneuver of the same speed. Yeah, so you can't do full stops or whatever. Not that you could anyway, because they're speed 0. But the point is, it increases the difficulty, which makes it a red maneuver, which means then Leia can make it white again.
Yeah, which is cool.
I think it's a little bit cute, but I will say the fact that it's a U-Wing and can be placed in a different position and then react and then move around in that position, also rigged cargo chute, there's a lot more upside to you getting your positioning right. And yes, at the end of the day, Magvayara is a higher initiative than Benthic 2 Tubes. Just be aware that Season Navigator is 5 points. If you're looking to get extra value out of Leia's only 2 points. So you're sort of stacking points on that strategy, and Leia is good because she's so cheap. Well, partially anyway. As I've said before, Leia is so powerful because the flaw on Leia is you can change one of the maneuvers on that ship from a red to a white, and that's worth 2 points. That alone is worth 2 points. But she does to all the other ships as well, and that's where the value just escalates.
So much.
When you put on Seed Navigator, it's like you have a 7-point buy-in to this ability. That doesn't feel as good. This is just something I want you guys to be aware of. When you're evaluating cards, just be very careful of that.
Yeah.
But, end of the day, I like these 3 ships together. I think there's some tweaking to be done, but really dig it. Thanks for submitting that one, Cynic Oil.
Another Patreon list here. This one by Psych J7.
Yes, Fast and Furious. We have Koren Horn, Wedge Antilles, and Magviara this time.
Yeah, so Koren Horn has Predator, Fire Control, and R2.
Wedge has Predator, 4 Astromech, Afterburners, and Servo Motor S-Foils.
And Magma Yarrow has Trick Shot, Fire Control, Tactical Officer, Layer Organa, and Pivot Wing.
Now, this is not hyperspace legal, but it could easily be.
Yeah, if we take Koren Horn off...
That's a 7-point gap that you could easily put an ace in. You could do a Luke build for 74 points.
Yeah.
You're not looking at Luke Proton Torpedoes, Instinctive Aim. That's just a little bit too expensive to have all of those things.
Yeah, but you could do Luke and...
You could do
Heightened Perception,
R2D2 if you really wanted to, or just R4 Astromech. You can do a Luke build, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And other options, whatever. It doesn't matter. For 74 points for that Koren Horn roll, Luke is absolutely a good substitute for that kind of stuff. And as more stuff comes out, So this archetype is not really extended specific. You just happen to have used Koren Horn. I like Koren Horn and Wedge together.
Oh, that's
a lot of firepower. So you can do 4 attacks in a turn. You can't do that next turn. The next turn you'll only have 2 attacks. But it's still very, very powerful. You can
it's a good way to get a ship off the board very quickly.
do a nice alpha strike with that for sure. Magviara is very, very interesting. I'm seeing a lot of interest in this pilot.
Yeah.
Also in like competitive play as well. Which is weird because she's the second most expensive U-Wing pilot. I mean, I'm probably missing something here. I'm not a rebel player myself.
I don't know. I would have thought people would prefer Saw. Because Saw's re-rolling attack die.
I think Saw has a higher... he's the spikier one.
Yeah.
What I think's going on with Magviaro is the fact that you can't do multiple re-rolls, and that is so powerful against proton torpedoes.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you're not facing proton torpedoes... It's still decent. It still locks out target locks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it specifically takes out one thing that's really hating. On the U-Wing in particular, doesn't want to be focus fired. It's not the healthiest frame. I mean, fire control still gets through it, but it's just basically spending target locks. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That just seems really, really decent. That's cool. I've got no complaints about that. Yeah, also, yes, another awesome application of Layer Organa. This time alongside Koren Horn. So 1 hard turns, 3 S loops, 4 Ks can all become white. The 1 hard turn in particular, I think the fact that you're unlocking that and making the whole grid of turn banks and straights all white.
Yeah.
Or blue in some cases. Yeah, especially when he has boost and barrel roll. He can't barrel roll and boost. It's not something that he can do. It's probably okay, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing, to be honest. He's not an arc dodger. He wants to get you inside his bullseye firing arc and double tap a ship. If you do a hard turn then boost, what you're turning... I worked it out one day. What was it? It was a 135-degree turn. It's very, very aggressive. Very aggressive. Or hard turn and then do the thing. The whole point is you... doing your boost with more information because you're doing it as you activate. So doing the 1 hard turn speculatively to try and catch as many different things as your opponent can do. Aces want as much information as they can get to be more versatile.
Yeah.
And Leia just helps unlock that. I mean, we're seeing Leia alongside a lot of generics, which is cool because that's a lot of extra firepower, like everyone can focus on K-turn. But alongside these aces, I find it very interesting.
Good.
Yeah. And the aces can't be hammered as effectively with proton torpedoes because of Magviaro. Tactical Officer gives them even more action. It feels like a Palpace list, almost.
Oh yeah, I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, it's weird because Wedge doesn't have like all the turtly green dice and all those kind of mods and that kind of stuff. But I dig this, and I think it is absolutely in the conversation to look at something like this for hyperspace as well.
Yeah.
If you're getting sick of flying a whole heap of generics and you don't want to activate that many ships,
Fly this instead,
for sure. Okay, moving right along, we have a couple of submissions from the YouTube comments. This one by Adam Leamy.
Yeah, this one has Saw Gerrera, Magma Yarrow, and Cassian Andor.
Yes, 3 U-Wings this time. And they all sit around the same sort of points range as the X-Wing.
Yeah.
A little bit cheaper with the U-Wings, but you can pretty much sub out U-Wings and X-Wings in different builds. As you can see, 2 X's and a U, 2 U's and an X, or 3 U's.
Yeah.
You can have 3 X's if you want.
So this one came out before the points change. So Perceptive Co-Pilot went down a couple of points, and so did Leia Organa.
Yes, indeed.
So what was a 2-point bid originally is now 14.
Yes, so there's a lot more stuff we can do here if we want, and we do want. Before we get into that, Saw Gerrera has Selfless, Perceptive Co-Pilot, Pivot Wing.
Magma Yarrow has Selfless, Perceptive Co-Pilot, Jyn Erso, and Pivot Wing.
Cassian Andor has Selfless, Perceptive Co-Pilot, Leia Organa, and Pivot Wing.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what's going on here? I love having Selfless on all of these platforms. I love having Selfless on all these platforms and Magma Yarrow. It makes them really hard to hammer. And Saw Gerrera gives you tangible upside from controlling where your damage goes. If you have a damaged ship, it can re-roll a dice, which is no joke. It's powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I think you obviously want Saw Gerrera to survive a little bit longer, so maybe a hull upgrade?
Yes, you can do that if you want. Hull upgrade is 5 points. We were talking before, FFG were very clever in the design of U-Wing in second edition.
Yeah.
It used to be 1 agility, now it's 2. It used to be 1 agility can get another green dice, now it's 2 agility can lose a green dice when the wings are closed. But because when you take the upgrades, it checks for 2 agility, and the hull upgrade's more expensive as a result.
Yeah.
It's 5 points, and for that reason, I don't think I'd take it.
Yeah.
I actually really like the look of fire control system on all 3 of these.
Yeah.
It's 2 points each. It's more firepower. That's just great.
Yeah. You've then got an 8-point bid.
Yeah, you do indeed, and you can
feels
still
good.
take that hull upgrade.
Yeah.
Indeed, and you could actually take what else do we work out? Oh yeah, tactical scrambler. We could have tactical scrambler and fire control system on all of them. And frankly, I just would, because I don't really care about a bid so much. With the U-Wing, I feel like it's playing the zoner. It's moving around in situ, 9 degrees, 180 degrees, keeping the guns pointed at your opponent's ship. Look, you're not going to activate after your opponent's ship, but you have enough information to sort of zone and say, okay, you're probably going to fly over here or fly over here. That's what zoning is. And Leia Organa lets you do it multiple turns in a row, which is really, really powerful. You make them all white for 1 turn. You can still do it the next turn, even if they're all red. That's really good.
And Jyn Erso on here means that your Perceptive Co-Pilot is a focus and an evade.
Indeed. And Jyn Erso has no cap. No, Jan Ors, which is the old version of Jyn Erso in first edition, had a cap. It was once per turn. Jyn Erso says, okay, all 3 of my ships can focus evade, focus evade, focus evade.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It
feels
really,
good.
really, really cool. Especially because Saw Gerrera is giving you re-rolls, and the more rolls you have, the more likely you're going to get focus results.
Yeah.
So,
and then Magma Yarrow is stopping them from doing the re-rolls, which means that you're more likely to survive that little bit longer.
yeah, absolutely. I like a lot of things. It's very, very highly synergistic. What I don't love is the fact that it's 3 U-Wings. That's just the one thing that I go, ooh, maybe not ideal.
Maybe 1 X-Wing instead.
I don't know. I like it too much. I feel like this list is about having 3 U-Wings. I appreciate that. And look, they're better than they were in first edition. They're not big ships. They're now medium ships, which actually does make an astonishingly huge difference. It's 8 health, 2 agility. They can get focus fired. But then again, I suppose the upside there is then you're activating Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
And this whole Leia combo, this is all stuff that isn't really tangible things from first edition. It feels more relevant now. I feel like a lot of the pieces have fallen into place to make a list like this relevant. I just can't get past that point that it is 3 U-Wings. You have to appreciate what's the ships you're taking, then go from there. But it's a very powerful 3 U-Wings. It's probably one of the best ways you could use 3 U-Wings. I do have to admit that. Very cool, Adam. If you've had a go at it, please let us know in the comments how it flew, because it looks like a really cool idea.
Yeah.
A lot of really cool synergistic things going on there. One last list here by Alex Cook with benthic 2 tubes and some X-Wings, Edrio 2 tubes, leaving Tenza and AP5 in the Sheathipede.
So benthic has Perceptive Co-Pilot, Advanced Sensors, Baze Malbus, and Pivot Wing.
Yep, Edrio 2 Tubes has R4 Astromech and the Servomotor S-foils.
Leave and Tenza has Debris Gambit, R4 Astromech and servo motors.
And AP5 has Jin Urso.
Yeah, no,
It's kind of fun, this.
it's not cheating.
No, it's not cheating at all.
No,
It's value. It's so much value.
yeah. What you're doing is you're like with Leave and Tenza. It says you can do
with Debris Gambit.
Yeah.
Yes. So Debris Gambit changes any red evade into a white evade so long as you're near a rock.
Yeah.
Including the red evade on Leave and Tenza's action. It also works with Sabine Wren on the attack shuttle.
Yeah.
That's one of the crazy combos that FFG lets slip in second edition. And I don't think it's crazy or anything. I just think it's good value. I like Debris Gambit anyway. It's fun to have. I like that you can potentially just use Debris Gambit if Leave and Tenza's ability doesn't fire off.
Yeah.
It's more upside. There's a lot of upside to the card.
Yeah.
It's always decent for 3 points, but it's very, very good value on Leave and Tenza.
definitely. And Benthic can actually get up to 4 focus tokens.
Yes, so the interaction here, and I don't know how much value this has, to be honest, but it's kind of fun. So Benthic can transfer one of his focus tokens, so it's not like stacking on a whole heap, it's going to mean you pass out anymore. Base Malbus allows you to get extra focus tokens when you take a focus action, up to 2, so you could get 3, but then you always get another one for some Perceptive Co-Pilot.
Yeah.
The wording's a bit weird here because you go, oh, but there's a hard cap because of Base Malbus. Base Malbus's ability triggers, resolve, so you can get 1, 2, or 3 focus tokens depending on how he works, and then Perceptive Co-Pilot always gives you 1 extra. So you could get 4. I don't know why you'd want 4, but you got them if you want them.
Yeah, well, you give 1 off, you've got 1 for your attack.
And 2 on defense. I mean, if that really matters.
And you can change 1 to a evade as well, I suppose.
Oh, yes, of course, you know, so yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funness is fun, I suppose. Yeah. Yes, I kind of wish I could spread out the love and have Perceptive Co-Pilot on one of these pilots and Base Malbus on the other, but you can't because there are your crew options there.
Yeah.
Gin on AP5 is absolutely correct. I would not change that. AP5 is just going to be coordinating the whole time. And what I wanted to point out here, because I like the combination here, Benthic 2 Tubes and Andrio 2 Tubes is already something I really enjoy. I think is a fun, powerful thing. It sucks when one of them gets destroyed, but it doesn't matter. You're having fun. You're getting all your value in the meantime. AP5 is a secondary way of activating Edrio 2 Tube's ability. Also, a secondary way of activating Leave and Ten's ability.
Yeah.
So there's
choices everywhere, isn't there?
Everyone's helping each other out quite a lot in this list.
Yeah.
And it just boils down to whether that Ewing's going to perform, because that's where the points are stacked.
Yeah.
Very heavily on that Ewing, 68 points. And the next most expensive ship is 51 points with Leave and Tenza.
Yeah.
But it's 4 ships. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have them spread out a bit more thin. I mean, do you just want to take a Partisan Renegade and make it all cheaper? But then
you lose the thing with Benthic.
you do indeed. Like it's all glued together because of how these pilots work. I wouldn't want to really change anything. I'm just as a thought experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, no Leia. I gotta be brutally honest. Look, if we're gonna talk competitive, yeah, Leia's taking Baze's spot.
Yeah.
Baze is cool. Baze is really cool, but every focus token you get after 2 really is having diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Now in Magical Christmas Land, yes, you'll get 4 focus tokens and you'll always use 4 focus tokens. In practice, it's probably not going to happen.
No.
In reality, Leia Organa is, again, just... If she just gives that Ewing a white full stop, she's done her job. 2 points, well spent. But she's not going to. She's going to give AP5 a red full stop.
No.
She's going to let AP5 reverse as a white maneuver if she really wants to.
Oh, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
The X-Wings have Talon rolls and K-turns. I've got to be honest, like, for tournaments and whatever, yeah, it's got to be Leia over Baze.
Yeah.
But if you are just hell-bent on doing this ultimate focus train shenanigans, you take Baze for your more casual play. I completely accept that. It's interesting whenever we talk about tournament players. Like, yes, we always default back to the same things. And there's absolutely value in doing things for funsies.
Yeah.
For the memes. Always do things for the memes outside of like your systems opens and your hyperspace trials. You go to hyperspace, take Leia. Actually, no, you can't take it to the hyperspace. If you go to system open, take Leia.
Yeah.
Very, very. I didn't want to make this whole video about Leia, but I do have to point out how powerful she is right now.
She is just taking the rebels by storm.
Absolutely. And as I said, I will be making a separate video on Leia because there's a lot to unpack there. But in the meantime, U-Wings look like a lot of fun. Didn't have a points change in the first major alteration. They were already pretty decent. The prevalence of Leia actually really does power them up because of their red full stops. In fact, Leia has made a lot of ships in the Rebellion very relevant. And I am concerned when Leia goes up in points, maybe things will just drop out again. But we'll see what happens with that. That's a whole other conversation. In the meantime, guys, if you'd like us to talk about one of your lists, please submit it down in the YouTube comments. If you're part of the Patreon Discord... Oh, by the way, in the last video, someone asked, how do I get on the Discord server? You need to be part of the Patreon. That's how that works. If you're not part of the Patreon, that's cool. I never pressure anyone to do that. It's completely up to you guys. You can still talk to us via the YouTube comments on Facebook, on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So feel free to submit lists there as well. But if you are a patron, head over to the Discord. There's a bunch of channels for all the different factions and submit them there. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting the Patreon. Patrons are awesome. Thank you so much for all the input and everything that's going on. The Patreon Discord is getting full. There's lots of conversations.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with it. I love that. Thank you so much to all you guys. We'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.